Which Florida Gators transfers will make the biggest day one impact? We're going to talk about it here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Wednesday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Today, we're talking about the transfers. Yesterday, we talked about first-year starters that are going to step up, in my opinion. You can watch that episode to find out who. 2 defensive players, 1 offensive. Figure that one out for yourself. Today, 2 defensive players, 1 offensive. We're starting with Joey Slackman. Last time we talked about the biggest impact transfer players was before the class was finalized, if I'm not mistaken. And I will say that Joey Slackman was number 1 then. He's still number 1. And I've talked about this a lot where I feel like the Joey Slackman impact is not as simple as, oh, he's a good defensive lineman, makes you better. It's not as simple as that. It's not as simple there where I've talked about so much of he makes the entire line better. And we've had this conversation before. And I feel like people get mad at me for saying this, but last year you lost your best defensive lineman in Princely Umanmielen, your best defensive player in Princely Umanmielen. You still got better as a defense. That's a good thing. I don't care about, oh yeah, we've got all these stars and they're not working out. I don't give a damn. You've got a better defensive line even after losing Princely Umanmielen. That's important, okay? And Joey Slackman, he does make your defensive line better because last year was so much of Princely gets pressure or no one gets pressure. This year, you've improved your defensive line really overall, especially with the youth coming up and Joey Slackman going in and the versatility that you've added. Like that's one of the big selling points for Joey Slackman is that you added a guy who's versatile in terms of he can play the run and he can play the pass. He does a pretty good job of both, in my opinion. And he could play multiple spots on the defensive line. Pairing him with a guy like Caleb Banks and pairing him with someone like Kelby Collins, that's huge. I know you can't pair them because it's 3, but that's huge to have that kind of versatility there. Like you can genuinely watch the Florida Gators go out there with a defensive line that consists of Cam Jackson at the nose, Caleb Banks at the big end, and then Joey Slackman at the F with whoever at the jack. Or you can see Caleb Banks at the nose, Joey Slackman at the big end, and whoever at the F and whoever at the jack. But you've got that kind of versatility where you can move guys around along the defensive line to exploit matchups that benefit you. That's huge. Your defensive line is better because of the addition of Joey Slackman, in addition to the growth of younger players and having Caleb Banks, who is a starter quality player, really. Having him slide to the bench most likely. That's something where Florida, we've talked about, they're going to have a rotation of 4 or 5 guys on the interior defensive line. They haven't had a rotation of 4 or 5 good guys on the defensive line, interior to defensive line. Like we talked about that a lot last year going into the season was, they're going to play this many guys at this many spots and it's going to be really awesome. Having a lot of guys, if they're not quality guys, doesn't matter, okay? And for Florida now, you're going to have a lot of guys that are higher quality. Maybe not all of them are high quality, but you're going to have at least 3 on the interior. We could say 4 if you want to include Kelby Collins there on the interior that are going to be quality players. Also, the importance and the significance of Joey Slackman, in addition to the other guys that you have there, they make your linebackers' job easier. So many times we saw linebackers get just swallowed up by blocks. Just completely demolished. And it's really tough when your defensive line isn't helping you out, isn't occupying blockers. When you go, because again, yes, linebackers are generally faster, more agile than offensive linemen. they've still got to get around or through those offensive linemen. And that's really freaking tough to do. And so, especially when they're trying to, especially when an offensive lineman is trying to get through you, really tough to do. So for Florida, like you need defensive linemen that can occupy blockers and maintain those and clear up these rushing lanes so Florida's linebackers can come in and make plays. Like that's one of the main reasons that the run defense sucked last year. Defensive linemen weren't capable of maintaining their engagement or shedding and making plays there. And it led linebackers in no man's land. It caused hell for run defense. Florida's just bad overall. All right. We are going to stick to the defensive side. Hell, we're going to stick to the defensive front seven, really. But first, a quick word from Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that, if you want to be like me, which you can be if you want, you can plug right into the back of your TV and you can watch millions of movies, TV shows, as well as free and live TV, whether it's opening weekend for baseball, which was brutal if you're a Mets fan like me, or the college basketball tournament, which was brutal and quick if you're a Florida Gators fan, like most of you probably are, right? We are, yeah. You're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest video from your favorite sports brands, all for free. And that includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Not to mention they have great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. And if you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. I don't lie. I'll let you know. I could be wrong. I don't lie. To learn more, visit amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. And like I said, for these big impact transfers, we are sticking to the front seven here. We're talking about Grayson Pup Howard, who, I mean, that was wild considering that it was after his freshman season where Florida was right there. Like Florida was in the running for Grayson Howard when he was coming out of high school, chose South Carolina, and then didn't. Like then kind of shifted to the Florida Gators. And it was awesome, really. I mean, if you're talking about in terms of did Florida get better? Yes. Did an SEC school get worse? Yes. Then we're going to be really happy. And I do think that one of the main reasons or one of the main areas where Pup Howard really adds impact is his versatility. He can defend the run, and he wants to defend the run, which is more than we can say for some linebackers that we've seen in just the Florida Gators defense in recent years. And he's acceptable in coverage. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's awesome at all, but he's acceptable in coverage for a guy that's going to be your Mike probably, and is expected to be a better run defender than anything else. I think Pup Howard does a pretty good job in coverage for that expectation. One area where we've heard, he's going to come down to the edge when Florida wants to do that. I do think one thing that we see Florida do more frequently is have a tight front come out, which if you watched the episode where we had Cody Alexander on a few weeks ago, he mentioned the tight front. It's a Ron Roberts staple, basically. And we talked about this a week or two ago, if I'm not mistaken, where you have your nose tackle right over your center. DNs are on the inside shoulders of the offensive tackle, so it's a tight front. TITE is how it's spelled if you want to look it up. But your defensive line is basically pretty condensed on the interior of the offensive line. Makes it really hard to run the football there. And what Dave Aranda did, who's a Ron Roberts disciple, is he took outside linebackers that can rush the passer or drop into coverage, and he kind of played them off ball, played them on the edge, moved them around a little bit, and had some fun with it. The expectation for Florida should be that they bring that a bit with Ron Roberts coming in. And Pup Howard's the guy that you would do that with. He can play off ball freely. He can come down to be the overhang edge freely. And I do think that he also just adds a lot to it with like Shamar and Pup Howard in a tight front. Because what you want to do with that tight front is you want to force the opposing offense to run wide. Like you want them to have to go, oh, like we have to go outside the tackles if we want to run the ball, whatever it may be. Okay. You force them to do that. You have athletic linebackers like Shamar James and Pup Howard. They're going to have some fun coming downhill and making those stops. So I think Pup Howard will thrive in that, like when Florida goes to a tight front, which again is my expectation that they're going to bring out here and there. I think when they do that, you're going to see Pup Howard really shine there. And again, I think that when we talk about marrying, because we've talked about that a lot with marrying concepts or marrying the run to play action, whatever it may be. When we talk about just marrying a linebacker group with a defensive line, versatility's clearly been a big focal point here for the Florida Gators, right? Outside of Cam Jackson, pretty much everybody in that front is versatile, and Pup Howard adds to that. And it's not a knock, by the way, that Cam Jackson is not that versatile. He's a nose tackle. His main responsibility, his main focus, his main job is not rush the passer. It'd be nice if he could, but it's not rush the passer. It's eat blocks and allow your linebackers to make plays. And he does that damn well. He is not one of the guys where it was like, oh, yeah, that's why linebackers can't find free space. He's not one of those guys that contributed to that. He did his part. Lose the Tennessee game without him, probably. So I think that versatility is huge. But again, for Pup Howard, I'm excited. Like linebacker, we talked about this yesterday when we talked about Najee Harris, where I've said, we talk with Brian Smith a lot, and we go, hey, it's really hard to play some of these positions as a freshman. Like you don't want these freshmen out there in some spots. Offensive line, which is why Najee Harris was extra impressive last season. Linebacker, which is why Pup Howard was extra impressive playing as a freshman, which Shamar James did as well. But having those because again, with linebacker, you need to be smart in order to play those. And the South Carolina defense isn't something where you could be stupid and play it. Just want to throw that one out there. It's not something you could be a dummy and find success in. But for Pup Howard, he didn't start, but he did play and rotated in pretty consistently. And so being able to do that as a freshman is impressive. And for Pup Howard, I want more smart linebackers. I want linebackers that are capable and have the size, because that was the thing with Scooby Williams last year. Yeah, Scooby wasn't great. Scooby also wasn't a traditional off-ball linebacker. Like he was moved there by the coaching staff and had to play there previously, and had to play there. So yeah, he didn't do it well. But it's not like he was doing something that he wanted to do or something that he was expected to do. But that's why I will not give Scooby crap. Like and also I will say he's one of the Gators that hasn't talked trash after leaving, that I know of at least. And he's been very cordial to me, very nice to me. And yeah, I know that I love Scooby as a person, but man, Florida's linebacker room got better this year. And I think that's huge. And a lot of that comes down to versatility and having someone with the IQ and size of Pup Howard. We are going to wrap up by talking about the offensive side of the football. Again, yesterday we wrapped up talking with, we did 2 defensive players, and then we went to the offensive line. Today, 2 defensive players, and then we are moving to the offensive line. But first, a quick word from FanDuel. I don't know if you've noticed, but the sports calendar absolutely loaded right now. And FanDuel's making it even more exciting to get in on the action, because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. $200 that you can use to bet final of the tournament, to bet the MLB, which just opened. Wyatt Langford made me money quite a few times since the season opened last week. The NBA, playoffs coming around, NHL, so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. Because again, even if you're just betting $5, as long as it wins, $200 in bonus bets. Same. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Make some money. To wrap up today's episode of Locked On Gators, we are talking about the offensive line. And Florida brought in 2 offensive line transfers this year, one of whom I am a massive fan of. I do believe is going to be a starting offensive tackle. I think that should be the expectation. And was the expectation when he committed to Florida. Brandon Crenshaw Dixon. Man, big fan of his game. Genuinely, he's got left tackle and right tackle versatility. We saw him start at both spots in his career at San Diego State and play pretty damn well at both spots in his career at San Diego State. And that's especially awesome because for the Florida Gators, you were bad at both tackle spots last year. I know a lot of people love Austin Barber and hate Damian George and kind of want to just go, Damian George is the problem. Austin Barber will give you a mulligan, which is fair. It is fair to do. It's fair to say, hey, Austin Barber, you deserve a mulligan there because, your freshman year when you were rotating in mostly at right tackle, you played pretty well. When you were at left tackle, you didn't. I think, and right now, Austin Barber is banged up, didn't participate in the spring scrimmage the other day, none of that. But I think bringing in Brandon Crenshaw Dixon allows you to figure that out. Like that's been my huge selling point with why I think Brandon Crenshaw Dixon was a massive add in the transfer portal, was because we've seen Austin Barber play both left tackle and right tackle in his career in Gainesville. He's been better at right tackle, but I do think that the plan still, Austin Barber, left tackle. And yes, he wasn't healthy. He wasn't fully healthy. Some of the things that he was doing on film, I don't think were really relevant to his health. Just want to say, like, sometimes it just looked like he was lost or didn't have his assignment or whatever it may be. That's not your health, buddy. And the buddy that I'm talking to there is all the fans that get mad when I say it. Like, he didn't have a good year, and it's okay to admit that. I'm not saying I'm out on him. I am saying that you've got Austin Barber has left tackle, right tackle versatility. Brandon Crenshaw Dixon has left tackle, right tackle versatility. Hell, Devin Manuel, also a transfer from Arkansas, has left tackle, right tackle versatility. Just want to say that with that versatility, you get to find out who belongs to be where. Again, I do think Devin Manuel is going to be a backup this season, but Brandon Crenshaw Dixon and Austin Barber there, if the coaching staff is really committed to let's play Austin Barber at left tackle, then they have Brandon Crenshaw Dixon play right tackle. If they're really committed to let's play our offensive lineman at the best spot that gives us the best chance to succeed, maybe that's Austin Barber at left tackle and Brandon Crenshaw Dixon at right tackle. Maybe it's Austin Barber at right tackle and Brandon Crenshaw Dixon at left tackle. But also that versatility helps you out if there is an injury. Because again, like we said, Austin Barber wasn't fully healthy last season. Maybe if you have better tackle depth, maybe they just go, hey man, like just come on out and we'll just keep you out until you're healthy. We're comfortable with having Brandon Crenshaw Dixon and Devin Manuel out there. Maybe that's what you do. Maybe last season they were just like, oh yeah, we hate our tackle depth. Not gonna chance that one. Sorry, buddy, you're gonna have to play through it. Maybe that's what it is. But for Florida, I think that the versatility of Brandon Crenshaw Dixon opens things up because now you've got tackles that can play at every spot, and you can figure out that best combo. And we've talked about this so many times, and I've said this so many times I want to puke thinking about it. Okay, when you're trying to figure out how to get the best offensive line you can, it is not as simple as let's take the 5 best blockers and put them on the field. Because your 5 best blockers can be D-bags that don't work well with others and don't play well with others, right? What you want to do when you're trying to find that success on the offensive line is you want to find the best unit of football players that you can. The best, the 5 equals 1. Like that, I know a lot of people like to make fun of the Florida Gators using that 5 = 1 thing, the Rob Sale. I get it. It's not wrong. You want to have 5 players that operate as one, legitimately. You want them to be the obviously it's ideal if they're your 5 best players, but you want to have the best offensive line. I always bring up the New York Giants when they were actually good, when they were winning Super Bowls. They didn't have all pros throughout. They had like a couple of guys here and there that were all pros a season throughout their career, or Pro Bowl players for a season throughout their career. But it wasn't just like they went, oh, let's just build elite offensive lines with just the best offensive line players. No, they went out there and they built elite offensive lines. They built good offensive lines by building good cohesive units on the offensive line. Every good offensive line is not just, oh, they just have studs throughout. It's always they know how to work as a unit. That's why oftentimes too in the NFL, where the season's longer, you see it come down to, or not see it come down to, but you see a trend of teams that go farther are teams that have offensive lines that have played more snaps together that season, because they have that hive mind basically. They know how to work together, they know how to play together, and they know how to find success together. That's huge. Also, I will say Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, I think, is immediately the best pass blocking tackle on the Florida Gators. This isn't like a decade ago where you had to go, oh, you put your best pass blocker at left tackle and you figure out the rest. That's not a thing anymore because edge rushers are so good that you need to be able to block both sides really well. Blind side still matters, but you need to block both sides really well. So there's a little bit of a difference there, or a little bit of leeway there. But for the most part, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon's the best tackle, the best pass blocking tackle here. I do think that run blocking, Austin Barber, in my opinion, slightly, very slightly, but I think Brandon Crenshaw Dixon is your best tackle immediately, your best pass blocking tackle immediately. I don't know why I keep forgetting to say the pass blocking part, but here's what it is. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. We are available, again, on YouTube if you want. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I'll see you all next time.